Hey, my name is PolishLynx and welcome to another episode of DS irae. And, well, apparently he did fall asleep as I predicted. At some point, I opened my eyes to see... That was a long nap, dude. I couldn't believe myself, it was already completely dark out. I was lucky I didn't get sick. It was true what they said about idiots not catching colds. I rose from the bench I had been lying on. I checked the time on my phone. 6:30 PM. It wasn't terribly late, but seeing how it was winter, it was already pitch black outside. In the distance I could still see lights on in the school offices. The idea of being called by a teacher wasn't appealing. I had had enough lectures for one day. I headed back to the classroom to pick up my stuff, only to find... "You were on, go and get her back a year for all I care." A lovely note from Kasumi taped onto my desk. Arch had no reason to be concerned, my grades were better than hers. Since this was a college prep school, they were willing to turn a blind eye to most things as long as you did well on tests. That said, they insisted with Shiro might not have fallen under most things, but... Setting it aside, I tore the note off the desk, rolled it up, and launched it at the trash can. I totally sunk this free throw. I left the classroom after paying my respects to Kasumi's rancorous missive. The school was more than a little creepy at night. I always dreamed about actually being at school during the night. I mean, it's tempting, right? And... well, we never had clubs or anything like that, so staying longer wasn't a thing. And... we didn't really have any festivals, so also not being able to, do something overnight, like prepare the classrooms for something and so on. Polish schools are so boring. No wonder so many people reported ghost sightings during the summer months. I was the fan of ghosts myself, if I had to say why. It was because they were immune to physical attacks. You could try punching them, killing them, whacking them with a bat. Whatever, and it wouldn't do a damn thing. Meanwhile, they were able to mess with us all they wanted. You could hardly call that playing a fair. Surely I was the only one who found that a bit unsophisticated. As I was walking down the hall, entertaining myself with still pondering some ghosts, something outside the window caught my eye. The lights were on. Himuro had said that club activities would probably be suspended, which meant... Oh man. This is the 7th save already. I definitely will have to overwrite later. Alright, I'm curious. You think? I couldn't think of any other explanation. Surely she wasn't trying to develop some new technique to take on the murderer on the loose, right? Unfortunately, I couldn't just leave her here now that I knew. What Himuro had told me earlier was still on my mind too, I guess. Set aside the issue of whether or not she really needed me escorting her, we took the same path back home anyway. I found just the person I was expecting to find the dojo, but... I had come here thinking we'd go through our usual routine, with me giving her a hard time and sidestepping her subsequent scolding. Kasumi, however, was clearly not in a playful mood right now. When it came to kendo, she didn't cut corners or make compromises. She handled her bamboo sword with a quiet dignity, with nary a trace of her usual rambunctious demeanor to be found. Staring at her steadfast expression, I found myself starting to understand why the younger girls swooned over her. It felt like it would be wrong somehow to call out to her, so I just leaned against the shoe rack and watched her practice. I wasn't very familiar with kendo, but if memory served, that pose was the Seigan Kamae, one of the most basic techniques. She sure was diligent. Here was someone who placed in national tournaments staying late in order to practice their fundamentals. Well, I guess that was probably part of why she was so strong. I'd been watching her for a few minutes now. She'd probably been practicing for much longer, of course, but her form hadn't wavered a bit. It called to mind the image of a Buddhist priest meditating. Was this what they called clearing one's mind? As I watched her, I suddenly wondered if she had some specific reason for going out of her way to maintain a steady presence of mind like this. I mean, it was kind of the idea of martial arts in general, but...
本当に強いやつは何もしなくたって強いんだよ。
That's bullshit. I recalled what Shirwan once said while watching one of Kasumi's matches.
最初から強いやつにはリハも稽古も必要ない。武道は弱いやつが強くなろうとする手段で、だから精神論が幅利かすのさ。礼に始まり、礼に終われって、そういう具合に
That guy's annoying, you know?
元が弱いから力に耐性ないんだろうな。自分を律するのが最優先で、それができなきゃ破綻する。哀れすぎるぜ。まあ仕方ないとは思うけど。
How come you were friends with him?
つまり、霞はそっち系だ。背伸びしてるあたり可愛いけど、生まれつきじゃないから無理してる。誰かさんとは違うのさ。まったく。なんでこんなことになったのかね。うさぎちゃんに夢見せたのはどこのドイツだ？なあ、レンちゃん。
Eh? I still remember the grin on his face as he nudged me with his shoulder. In retrospect, maybe I should have tagged him right then and there.
お前、責任取ってやれよ。そもそもあんなことやったから。
Oh, give me a break. Where the hell did he get off trying to lecture me about this? Whose fault did he think it was anyway? It pissed me off hearing that sort of thing coming from the mouth of a risk-obsessed psychopath like him. He needed to realize he was nothing more than a fucking dumbass who liked complicating things for the hell of it. That was why I... Shit, what the hell was I doing?
どうしたの？っていうか、いつからいたの？
ああ、悪い。ちょっと声かけづらくて。
I had to be out of my mind, suddenly going on a trip down that particular memory lane. I pulled my fist out of the shrug, my gaze wavering. This was beyond embarrassing.
一緒に帰ろうぜ。物騒だろう、一人だと。
どうしたのよ。変だよ、レン。珍しいよ。あんたがそんなこと言い出すなんて。
いや、夜道はおっかないからお前に守ってもらおうと。
Well...
ほほー。つまり何？あんたは自分が怖いから私にガードしてくれと？あんたが私を守るんじゃなく？
その通り。
Kasumi snapped.
この軟弱者が！それでも男か！恥を知れ！
And I'm not surprised with it.
あと今思い出した。あんた午後の授業サボったでしょ。どこ行ってたの？
屋上で寝てたんだけど。
は？屋上？信じらんない。何こいつ。呆れた。めまいがするよ。わかった。もういい。ちょっとそこで待ってなさい。着替えてくるから。
Kasumi stomped off into the changing room, and I could have sworn I heard the earth shake. She pulled her head back out.
覗いたら奥義食らわすからね。
She slammed the door shut. Well, I guess this had turned out more or less how I originally envisioned it. It seemed Kasumi was back to her usual self, if nothing else. Now I just need to stop worrying about stuff in the past myself.
それじゃあ、お世話になりました。
Kasumi thanked the dojo, locked it, and then headed my way.
お待たせ。どう？何か食べてく？
いや、せっかくだから霞が何か作ってくれよ。
Of course he would say that.
でもそれだと遅くなるよ。
別にいい。どうも俺、他の料理が口に合わない。
そうなの？
important that he's saying that, right? Did we make the correct choices here?
そう。昼飯は適当だったし、腹減ってる。慣れないもんは食いたくないよ。だから、霞の料理がいい。
でも買い置きないし。
面倒か？だったら外食で我慢するけど。
いや、そうじゃなくて、なんか照れるね。参ったな。そういう風に言われると下手なもの作れないっていうか。
I'm sure even half-assed things would be delicious. Smooth, right? Not really. Kasumi squirmed about for a bit, but soon collected herself.
よし、だったら私頑張っちゃうよ。
頼むわ。
Thank God she was so simple-minded. After work, we picked up some groceries at the supermarket and headed home together. It couldn't have been much later than 7 p.m, but there were surprisingly few people still out and about on the streets. Surprised, I'm not.
やっぱりみんな怖いんだね。
だろうな。
You'd have to be crazy to want to go strolling about in the city, where there had been a brutal murder the previous day. The smart thing to do would be to stay inside with your doors locked tight. Well, yeah, but, you know, you have to lock it after checking the area, well, basically house, because what if that person is in your house? Think about it this way, Kasumi and I were being pretty careless going out at night like this, even if we were together.
先生もね、犯人が捕まるまでは各自まっすぐ帰りなさいって。
What else would they say?
でもだったらお前、なんで居残りなんかしてたんだよ。
それはなんかもう日課になっちゃってるもんだから、今更やめるのも半端だし。それにほら、もしかしたら犯人逮捕とかできるかもしれないし。
Well, we did see the very beginning of the game, so how about no?
って何よその顔。もしかしてこいつバカだとか思ってるでしょ。
I actually do. Sorry, was she psychic or something?
お前な、そういうことは公僕に任せとけよ。なんで一女子高生が体張らなきゃならないんだよ。
そこはほら、私正義の味方だし。
Good for her.
前から思ってたけど、お前頭悪いよな。
何？ちょっとあんた失礼よ。
とにかく正義感もほどほどにしとけよな。
I didn't know what sort of person the murderer was, but it was probably safe to say that he was out of his mind if he was going around decapitating people. The average person almost certainly struggled to maintain their cool when confronting a psychopath like that.
血まみれの凶器持ってニヤニヤ笑って、多分規制上げながら襲いかかってくるやつ相手に、お前の剣道がちゃんと発揮できるかどうかは微妙だぞ。自信あるのか？
どうだろうね。確かにちょっと怖いかも。
だろ？
Most people have never had to fight for their lives, so it would be only natural to freeze up when thrust into a situation like that. Only experience or natural predisposition for this sort of thing could help you there. Not being experienced with or possessing it for life and death struggles would be a good thing, mind you.
とにかく物騒なこと考えるなよ。また稽古続けるなら俺も一緒に残るから。
やだね。心配してくれてるの？
Yes.
心配だよ。俺一人で帰るのマジ怖いし。
はあ、そうですか。いや、素直で結構だとは思うけどね。でもさ、だいぶ前の調子が戻ってきたね。入院したばっかりの頃はなんだか幽霊みたいになっちゃってたけど。だからね。
Kazumi smiled softly, her expression feeling somehow mature.
今度何かあった時はちゃんと私に話してね。また前みたいに知らないところで無茶しちゃダメだよ。約束。
She stuck out her pinky.
ほら。
お
Close.
前、俺の母さんじゃないんだからさ。
そんなようなものじゃない。私に守ってほしいんでしょね。
I wondered if it might not be better to just go along with her.
善処するよ。
よろしい。
Kasumi grabbed my hand and forcibly intertwined our pinkies. Never thought I'd be engaging in a pinkies where this age. Next time something happens, be sure you tell me about it. I didn't want more stuff that I felt uncomfortable talking about to happen myself. I was more than over that sort of thing. Unfortunately, I always seem to have had bad luck keeping these sorts of promises. So these pinkies were instead seemed ominous to me, like it was a portent of some misfortune to come. I couldn't shake that feeling for the rest of the night. After eating dinner, I headed straight to bed, and as soon as I fell asleep, it began. The crimson dream of the guillotine. Indeed, the night was red. A beast lurked in the city. Most beasts were of a nocturnal nature, so it was only natural the hunting of this one took place during the night. And Tuesday night was stained crimson, with fountains of blood, with dripping pieces of meat, with shattered bones, with the fading embers of life. Tuesday the beast satisfied its hunger, slaked its thirst in an endless cycle of limitless gluttony. Okay, guys, prepare yourself. It continued devouring its prey. However, there were also those that hunted such beasts. Or perhaps it would be more accurate to describe this kind of phenomenon as mutual predation instead.
来た。
A beast in the form of a young woman spoke, a grim expression on her face. She was one of the hunters, but she was fundamentally no different from her prey. Indeed, they were one and same. They both had become beasts through the same obscene method and took to the hunt for the same reasons. Two beasts of the same forest. If there was a difference we found between them, it was her youth. But in this case, youth did not equate to inexperience. She had killed far more than the older beast before her. Thus, she had no intention of pursuing her prey at the current time. For now, she would simply step back and observe the situation, waiting for her prey to build experience and mature. She yearned for the day her prey's fangs would grow sharp enough that she could no longer manage them. Let it be said that she was not overestimating her own strength. This was her earnest desire. What the weirdo? The hunt would be but a mere farce if her prey was feeble enough to fall to her alone. After all, every one of the hunters was a monster forged in the flames of hell. Her prey needed to be strong enough to hold its ground against all of them together.
まあ、難しそうな話だけど。
Her words earlier did not speak of her prey's arrival. Her comrades, the hunters, had arrived instead. And thus she understood. The odds of the prey managing to reach their level were so low that they might as well have been zero. Who's that? There was no one to be seen in the area. Do I know her? Should I know her? Will I meet her at some point? Well, you know, as you know, not in a dream, nightmare. Her comrades hadn't made their presence known through sight or sound, but she could feel them there. Even if one is asleep, he or she is likely to awaken if several people enter the room, simply from sensing their presence. This was a similar phenomenon. The room that was Zuhara City suddenly felt very cramped. If we posited that the density of a normal person's existence was a 1, then the density of the two who had just arrived was more than 1,000. There could be no doubt that these monsters had devoured more than 1,000 human souls. These were man-eaters, far beyond the level of any mere serial killer. They could no longer be called human in any sense of the word. But this was perhaps to be expected. It meant only that they had come prepared. They had made effective use of the past 60 years, it would seem. She had no trouble telling exactly who had arrived. Who could forget such tainted, such utterly abominable souls as theirs? God damn.
まったく
Before the wars, these two are the absolute worst, could pass from her lips. The girl remembered that the descriptor, the absolute worst, applied to all of them just the same, and held her tongue.
ともあれようこそシャンバラへ
Shambhala.
ようこそ。お待ちしていましたよ、お二人とも。
A man garbed in a priest's cassock offered his greetings.
本当にお久しぶりです。米中尉にマレウス准尉。月並みですが、相変わらずのようですね。
His voice was calm, even comforting. In contrast, the two beings receiving his greeting with a presence that could only be likened to that of a natural disaster. The sick stench of blood hung in the air. A pungent aroma of gunpowder filled the area. The entire world around them reeked with the rotten stench of murder. These were the odors of madness. These were the odors of calamity. These were the odors of demons. The beings gathering atop this bridge were without exception utterly removed from the constraints of normalcy. One of the two guests, a young man, sneered at the priest's words.
相変わらずってことは昔のまま進歩ねえって言いたいのかよ、クリストフ。言葉選ばねえと死ぬぞてね。
The man's language could hardly be called refined, but he spoke with a grin. The priest returned his own faint smile. The man's skin was fair, too fair to the point of being inhumanly pale, as if he was cut from wax. However, he did not give off an aura of weakness or sickliness. Far from it, he possessed a certain limber poise, almost reminiscent of a python or other great reptile. In contrast,
ごきげんよう神父様。あなたは本当に変わってないわね。少し怠けすぎなんじゃないかしら。
wait a second. Okay, so I thought that our character was the one guy, and his friend was the other guy from the top, right? Like the leaders. What if the blonde guy is the crazy freaking kid from previous, and this, well, no offense, little girl is the one that was previously the one with the burnt face. The sweet voice that resonated next belonged to a young woman every bit as charming as her voice would suggest. Yeah, well, looks charming and so on. She looked completely unfit to this sinister place. In that sense, she could have been said to give off the strongest impression of any of the creatures gathered atop the bridge. She served as an excellent example of the old adage that every rose had its thorns.
私はしばらく陰性していたものでしてね。まあ怠けているのは今に始まったことでもなし、一応それなりの理由もありますが、説明責任を求めますか？
いらねえよ。知った仲だ。堅苦しいのはやめようぜ。
Okay. Please speak more because I think I recognize your voice.
俺が知りたいのは一つだけだ。今シャンバラには誰と誰が入ってる？
Okay. I know it's the second time I make my connections to Fate series, but isn't this Lancer's voice?
レオンハルト、ゾーネンキント、バビロンにトバルカイン。そしてあなたたちの計6名ですよ、米中尉。私はあと 4,5 日の間、ここを動けないものでしてね。
Okay, Blondie, speak once more, please.
なぜ？
That's not long enough.
年寄りが出しゃばるなと怒られたのですよ。
ああ
The man's pale visage twisted in confusion. The girl, on the other hand, seemed to understand what the priest had meant.
クリストフ、あなたさっきレオンハルトって言ったわね。それはバルキュリアの抜け番かしら。
ええ、あなた方も面識はあるでしょう。あのお嬢さん、どうしてなかなか大したものになりましたよ。
へえ。
おー
The two of them broke out into broad smirks. Fascinating, most fascinating, a force to be reckoned with. Then by all means.
二人とも
The priest, perhaps sensing the building unease atmosphere, continued with an authoritative tone.
分かっているとは思いますが、今黒煙卓に空きを作るわけにはいきません。それでは11年前の繰り返しです。
What? 11? What are you talking about? 1945 and 2006? It's not 11 years. You mean you repeated that thing more often? Wait, 6. 1995? Anything happened? Sorry, but well, in 1995 I was 2 years old, so I can't really remember any historical events like that. Plus, you know how history classes are, at least in Poland. They don't really teach anything about these years. No, seriously. We always ended up on First or Second World War, and after that we basically were not able to continue because there was no time, according to the teachers. Okay. Ooh. Okay, so basically, what you might mean is the war in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So yeah. Oh. Or maybe the complete fall of Yugoslavia. Well, maybe that is the option. At least we know a bit of history now.
たとえ新参でも未熟者でも黄色い劣等であろうとも彼女の存在はいるのですよ。わかりますね。
ええ、それはもう分かってるわよ、当然じゃない。相変わらず心配性ね。だからここはせっかく女同士なんだし、あの子のことは私に任せていただきません？
いいじゃねえか。あんたもあんたで暇じゃねえだろ。これで残ってるのはシュピーネだけだが、あいつはいつ来る？
Yeah, I think that's the guy that gave the voice to Lancer as well.
彼はもうしばらくかかるでしょう。私が少々調べ物を頼んだのでね。
ん？何それ？気になるな。
No, I actually could just check that, but I will forget after picking ending recording this one episode.
おいマレウス。
But there is that special tone that tells me that it might be that person.
言ったろ、別にいいじゃねえか。大公殿が腹黒いことやっててくれりゃ、こっちもいろいろ手間が省ける。俺らは掃除をしてればいいのさ。
掃除っていうか狩りでしょ。メルクリウスのクソ野郎が代理をよこしているんじゃなかったかしら。
順位副首領閣下に対する不敬な物言いはあまり感心しませんね。
Ooh. The priest reproached the girl's choice of words, but his tone made it clear that he was doing it out of no more than mere formality. This Mercurius was clearly rather unpopular, but at the same time it did not seem as if they were making light of him. Huh. Pretty sure we are that guy, actually. Don't know, but I feel like we might be that guy, and he will basically be the opposition for everything. Quite the opposite, in fact. They spoke of him with disgust, with even a hint of fear. This was a man so despised that even his comrades shunned his very existence. Huh. I'm seriously more and more thinking it might be that way. Okay. Oh.
副首領閣下は命役に従い、それを使わしているはずです。あなた方はまず彼を探してください。そう難しいことではないでしょう。
レオンは？あの子は協力してくれないの？
というか、この件に関しては彼女に一任しています。まあ、新兵に経験を積ませるという意味で顔を立ててやってください。
なるほど。
了解。楽しくなりそうよ。
では。
The priest's tone shifted. The two new arrivals knew it was time to case with their charades. The look in their eyes grew serious, grim. The very atmosphere around them took on a grave intensity. These were no mere facts, no man-dogs of war lost in their own power. These were soldiers. The opposition round table would tolerate no less. The priest spoke.
あらゆる悪も、あらゆる罪も、あらゆる鎖も汝を縛れず、あらゆる禁忌に意味はない。汝の神、汝の主が、汝をこの地へ導きたもう。汝はその手に剣を取り、主の敵を滅ぼし尽くせ。息ある者は一人たりとも残さぬよう、生ある者は一人残らず捧げるよう。男を殺せ、女を殺せ、老婆を殺せ、赤子を殺せ、犬を殺し、牛馬を殺し、ロバを殺し、ヤギを殺せ。
Asses, what?
恐れてはならない。おののいてはならない。疑うことなどしてはならない。汝は騎士、獣の軍勢、神が許し、私が許す。獣の総我を自負する者よ。誉れ高きその名を唱えよ。
ビルヘルム・エーレンブルグ。
ルサルカ・マリーア・シュベーゲリン。
Okay, that's not them.
汝が名誉は忠誠なり。
Well, the ones I was talking about earlier.
我らが名誉は忠誠なり。
清掃13騎士団黒煙卓第3位バレリア・トリファークリストフ・ローエングリーンの名においてここに汝らを祝福する。
After a brief pause, the ceremony had drawn to a close. The three spoke in unison.
ジークハイル・ビクトリア。
Whoa, what? They're LDO in Shambhala 613. What the hell? Okay, Mephistopheles, Tubal-Cain, Males Maleficarum, Babylon Magdalene, Sonokin, Longhart August, Kaziku, Blay, Swastika 08. Chapter 1, L'Enfant de la Punition, and... Oh. Other story, Werewolf. Unlocked.
あなたは基地感というものを経験したことがあるだろうか。
I don't know about that. We will answer that question in the next episode. Actually, let's end it here. And when we start over in the next one, well, I'll answer that next question as well. Anywho, this is getting really interesting. Well, it was actually giving the vibe of being interesting from the very beginning, to be honest. Anywho, hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next one tomorrow. Bye bye.